Hey guys, Missy Billingsley here. Today I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily create an applique design using the Baby Lock Destiny 2 and IQ Designer. So I have my artwork. This came up in the Destiny group earlier, so I wanted to show it. It's just the letter 3. You could use it for a shirt for a little girl's or little boy's birthday or whatever. And so I have it printed on a piece of paper, just straight out of my printer. I'm using the magnets to hold it in place. Use as many or as few as you need, and just make sure that you don't cover up any portion of this black and white stripe at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and slide that into my machine. Make sure you lower the gray lever to lock it in place, and then we're going to select IQ Designer. Once you've selected IQ Designer, up at the top we're going to create line image. Now on the Destiny 2, this is part of the upgrade. What you want to be sure and select, especially if you have a lot of lines for some reason and you want to make sure they're all the same. Over here we're going to select the running stitch. This is our line drawing tools right here. So I'm going to check the settings in my line tools, and I'm going to make sure I change that to a run stitch. Okay, and changing the color is option. I just like to change it just so I know the color has been applied. So now we're going to choose Create Line Image, select Scan, and select OK. So now it's going to go over here. Let's slide over, and you'll see where your Destiny is going to begin scanning your artwork. And of course, the cleaner the artwork, the better. So it's going to scan down the embroidery frame or the scanning frame, and then it's going to move back to the top. And it'll continue like that until your design has been completely scanned. Okay, so scans down, moves back up, and it's going to scan the entire image. I love the Destiny because it is so quick and easy to create an applique, so hopefully you'll be able to follow along with this little tutorial and you'll be able to create your own applique design. Okay, so once it is finished, it'll move back to the center. We're going to come back to the screen right there. So now then I can look at the screen and see my design. So I'm going to actually use my arrows in the top left corner and the bottom right hand corner. Don't try and use them at the same time, but you're going to drag in and crop out all the extra white space around your design. See, I'm pretty close right there. I'm going to do the same thing over here at the top. If I can't get all of my magnets out, that's okay. I'll be able to use an eraser on the next screen. So this one I couldn't get out all the way. So if you also notice down here, it tells me that my line is orange and I've chosen a running stitch. If it showed a satin stitch, that just meant that you didn't change it beforehand, and your design would come up as a satin stitch when you go to stitch, unless you change the properties. So we'll select OK. And then we'll look and see that 3 looks pretty good. Those 2 lines over there I'm not real concerned about, so we're going to select Set. And now then there's my image. It has a 3 in the background. Now I'm going to turn off my background image because the image of the magnets, if you're going to resize your design, can get somewhat confusing, because let me show you. If we come over here and go size, as soon as you've brought your design in on the screen, you're going to see a red box around it. That means it is selected at this time. That gives you the opportunity to size it, to rotate it, copy, paste, all sorts of things. So we're going to resize it down. And I'm already set in inches. If I were set in millimeters, I could simply go to the top setting screen, right up here, the second icon in, go to page 8, change that to inches, and so you can determine your size. If you also wanted to make sure you were choosing maybe a certain hoop size, maybe I wanted to use the 5x7 hoop size, so I would change to 5 1/8 by 7 1/8, and then I could also turn the grid on, off, crosshatch, or a 1-inch grid. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off for now, so I don't want any grid, so select OK. Now then, can you see the background image of the grid? Now I'm going to resize my design down, so I'm going to hold in the arrows. These top set of arrows over here on the right, the one with the 4 arrows pointing in, is going to resize the design proportionally. The 4 arrows going out is going to make it larger proportionally. Same thing at the bottom. This second row is going to squish it shorter or make it taller. The next row is going to make it thinner or wider. So you can kind of see that I've made it smaller, but see how that background image is still there? Well, sometimes that can get confusing. So down here over on the left-hand side, if you'll touch the arrow going to the right, it'll make your background image go away. So now you can continue sizing your design. Maybe you want it about, let's go about 6 inches. About 6 inches tall. Okay, that's probably pretty close. There's a little bit of extra area selected because of my marks from the magnets, but that's okay. I can deal with those. So now I'm going to select OK. Now I need to get rid of those marks, so we're going to choose the eraser, which is over here on the right-hand side. Choose which size eraser you want. What my favorites are the circles, and I typically will go with the small unless I'm erasing a really large amount, the small or the medium. So I'm going to leave it on the medium. And over here in the top left corner, I can zoom in my design, make it larger. Once you've made it large enough to see, now I can just barely get to that if I use my box over here on the right-hand side in the preview window. I'll slide it over. And now I can use my eraser to erase that line. Just be very careful that you don't erase the 3. If you need to zoom it up a little bit more, you can. You can get really fine-tuned in here. So I know I also want to get rid of this line. And the beautiful thing about the Destiny 2 with that upgrade is now you can actually see where your eraser is. I love, love, love that feature. Okay, so when you're finished cleaning up, I think those are the only 2 things I really needed to clean up. And I like the size. We're going to go ahead and save this design into our memory pocket of our machine. So right down here at the bottom, the red arrow going in allows you to save the design into the memory pocket. So you can choose the memory pocket of your machine, your USB 1 or 2, your computer, or your SD card. So we're going to save it to our USB. Just don't forget where you saved it. And it's critical that you save it now, since we already have an outline stitch and we already have it the size that we want. That way we can bring in the same size the second time when we create the satin stitch. Okay, so go ahead and choose next. Now we can look, our line looks like it's kind of wiggling. That means it's all selected. It looks good. And we're running stitch, and we're going to leave it at that setting. Touch preview. I have one color, looks good. Touch set, and OK. So there's your running stitch design ready to be stitched. I'm going to actually touch edit and move it to the center of my hoop, okay, because it was offset just a little bit. Now here's the thing about this particular running stitch. It will start at one spot, it will work its way around, and then it will come back. So it actually stitches over it twice. What you could do is you could stitch around part of the way to know where your placement is for your applique. And then when it gets up to the beginning, stop your machine, raise your needles, cut your thread, place your fabric, let it finish off the outline, and then you would be ready to trim. Or you could copy and paste it and give yourself a second outline for sure. So we're going to do that. We're going to copy and paste. So here's my copy paste over here on the right hand side. So now I have 2 images. They're just stacked off the top of each other. So we're going to move the second one to the center. So now we have 2 3s stacked on top of each other. Just to make it easier on my eyes, I'm going to change the color. So I know the second one is an orange. We're going to change it to maybe a darker orange, a vermilion. Colors really don't matter unless you're using a cutting machine. Then you would want to use your applique positions right down here at the bottom. Okay, so now I have 2 colors, orange and vermilion, stacked on top of each other. We're going to choose Add, go back to IQ Designer, select the arrow coming out of the pocket, which is the blue arrow. We're going to select our USB because that's where we saved it, our B pocket, which is the pocket that the machine saves the design into, and we're going to choose our letter 3. Once you've chosen it, touch Set. And you can either change your settings now by selecting your Settings tab, turning on the satin stitch, choosing a color. Okay, then before you touch the outline to change the color, you have to touch the paint bucket right over here on the right hand side. So select the paint bucket, choose your outline. It's now changed the color, and then select Next. I could have also changed the properties of my stitch right here. So if I select the satin stitch, maybe I want to do a candle wicking outline instead of a satin stitch, you could change it right here. We're going to leave it as a satin and touch OK. Down here at the bottom is where you can change the size of your satin stitch. Now that's in inches. I'm going to change it to millimeters just because I am a little bit better with millimeters on that particular part. So that's a 2.0. That's pretty narrow. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to bump that up to about a 3.5 or 4. Okay. I also then I'm going to select the density, which is right now set to 100%. We're going to choose 110. So plus 1 gives you 110% density, which is a nice satin stitch. Then we'll select set, select preview, OK. This is going to give you an image of what your design is going to look like. If you decided, no, I really don't like that, I want to do some candle wicking stitches, you could go back and change it again. Or if you wanted to change the satin stitch width of your design, you could go back and change it again. So I like that. We're going to touch set, exit IQ, and now I have my satin stitch 3. It's not stacked on top of the other, so I'm going to choose edit, move, and stack it on top. Okay. So now then, if I am ready to put this in my embroidery frame, if I move the design on this screen, and it's the screen that has embroidery in the bottom right hand corner, if I move a design, they are currently not grouped together. Okay, so if we group them together, then when we move them, it will move all at one time. So we'll choose move, put it back to the center, and so down here we're going to select these 3 icons. It's a square, a triangle with a square, and a circle with a square. So we'll select that. We're going to choose the 3 icons, so it makes everything pink. Select OK, and now touch your group icon, and now when I move those letters, or that letter, that applique design, it all moves as one. Okay, so we're going to throw it back to the center of our hoop, touch OK, and now you're ready to embroider. So hopefully that helped you creating an applique design. Now I'm ready to go. I have my placement stitch. I have my tack down, which after my tack down, I will then trim my fabrics away from my excess fabric, and then I have my satin stitch to finish. So super quick, super simple. Hope that applique in the Destiny 2 made sense to you, and have a great day.